Hello, welcome to another episode of African King Academy's Top 5, King's Top 5. And with this one, gonna do something a bit different. Top 5 players that made me fall in love with football. And not associated with my club. Obviously, the team I support is Chelsea, so these are 5 players that made me love football in general. The first name that comes to mind for me growing up was El Phenomenon. You see me wearing a Real Madrid shirt. It's the reason why I loved Real Madrid back in the day, the Galacticos era. And the main man in that team was R9 Ronaldo. It was a shame that he never really lasted as long as he could have. Was one of those players I was unique. That Brazil team in 2002, obviously 98, they lost the final. 2002, they won it. The collection of superstars that Brazil used to have back in the day. He was more than just a goal scorer. He was an overall footballer, and the things he could do on the pitch were absolutely amazing. Uh, and yeah, man, I'm gonna lie to you. There's not much really more I can say. He was what Real Madrid personified: excellence at the time. He was the Galactico of all Galacticos. He was the main guy of that team. In a team filled of superstars, he stood out in every way. But then there was a guy, and this is the second person that comes to mind when it comes to football. That was on the other team. Obviously, he started his young career in PSG, and then he made his way to Barcelona. Little Ronaldo, aka Ronaldinho. I still remember the goal he scored against us when he put Peter Cech in the spot and he did the little samba dance to kick it top bins. Still remember the free kick against England over David Seaman's head. I still remember the flip flaps, the skills. It was that era's time of who you liked more. Did you like Ronaldo or Ronaldinho? That was the choices you had in terms of the Brazil team back in the day. Obviously, there was other names. You know, you could have gone for the Rivaldos. If you liked a defender, you had the Cafus, Roberto Carlos. But those were the main two guys, and those were the two guys that everyone looked at and said, okay, you're either a Ronaldo fan or a Ronaldinho fan. And the real R9 Ronaldo, aka Fat Ronaldo. And those two kind of made me love the game of football. Um, Especially in London. everyone and everyone and their cousin had a Brazil shirt. Everyone followed the Brazil team. The samba football. It made like it's an international break. You loved international break because you wanted to watch that Brazil team. You wanted to wake up early in the morning and see them play against the Colombias, the Perus, the Ecuadors. It didn't really matter who they were playing. You just wanted to watch them. And they were a special team to watch, man. Samba. Even look at some of the adverts that were back in the day, the Olays. You know, man, it was all about fun. They played with a smile on their face. Their careers weren't long in terms of Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, because they loved to party, but they played the football the right way. Third on that list is a man from a rival team, a man that I consider to be the best Premier League player of all time, a man that I don't think there is no comparison, a man that brought the Vavavoom. And third player that made me love this game is Thierry Henry. He was a rival. He was a player that, when I watched, he epitomized that era of Arsenal, that early years Arsene Wenger era. Especially the invincible team, the things that he did with the national team as well. Obviously, you had him and Anelka coming up, and even him himself, he said Anelka was the one, but he's the one who stayed up, went to Arsenal, stayed there, made a legacy, became their top scorer all time, did a lot of things over there, and obviously went to Barcelona, won the Champions League over there, and regardless of where he was elite. The ability on the ball, the ability to beat a man. He had his own signature move. You always knew what he was gonna do on that left hand side, cut it in, curl it around the keeper, finish that every time. And I just think the way he kind of glided across the pitch, the elegance he played with, and his partnership with Dennis Bergkamp, the non-flying Dutchman, I think it was one next to none. I think it was one of those ones where you feared that team, and that's really why I chose him, because not only did I fear him, but I respected him, and that's the thing. When you have a rival like that, you fear them, but you respect them, and that's why Henri's number three for me. Now, I kind of have a load of names when it comes to fourth and fifth, but for me, fourth um goes to. Whew, there's a couple names that come to mind. I gotta be honest with myself, and number four for me in terms of players that I respect more than anything, um, is the man that was at Barcelona. He went to Man City. He was bigger than life. He was the Ivorian giant. Um, Yaya Toure. I think he's a midfielder that doesn't get the respect he deserves. Doesn't get the respect from Man City as he deserves. He deserves a statue for that club. I think there were seasons where he kind of the season where he handled it all by himself. Multiple goals, assists. He had the ability to do everything on the pitch. And you got guys like Pogba and players of that ilk that could do the same thing as he did, but he did it at such a level at that time that I hated playing up against him. And that's another rival that I respected. Yaya Toure in that midfield was dominant, and there was no one that could get the ball off him, no one that could beat him. He can beat you with the physicals, he can beat you with the touch, he can beat you with the play. La Messia born and bred as well, so he understood that style as well. And yeah, he was one that in terms of the African players, he was the one that I really liked a lot. And we'll stick to the African theme for the fifth one. I had a bunch of names in my head, but I gotta be honest. You know, Drogba made me love Chelsea, but there was another African striker who went back-to-back trebles, elite goal scorer, one of Africa's best, and I was too young for George Weah, so I can't put him. But for me, the best African player of all time, and being an African man, I got to put two Africans on the list. So I got Yaya Toure, and the other one is Samuel Eto'o, and he he did play for my club for a little bit, but I don't respect him or I don't look at that time period. I look at the time period when he was at Barca to Inter, what he did in those two clubs, and he said it himself. He didn't play with Messi. Messi played with him, and 100% agree with that. He was an elite striker. Um, it was disrespectful the way Barca let him go, but you know what he did? He came back with another trophy in Inter under Jose Mourinho, and he could do it all, man. He could do it all, and yeah, man. The debates that I used to have in terms of him and Drogba, as a Chelsea fan, you go Drogba every time, but nah, Eto'o was something special. And for me, him and Yaya Toure as the African players that really kind of stood out to me over time. Obviously, honourable mentions to the likes of Riyad Mahrez. Honourable mention to Mo Salah. Obviously, you got to respect what he does. Honourable mentions to obviously, you've got your Messi's, your other Ronaldo, Cristiano Ronaldo's, your Zidane's as well back in the day. Seydorf's, Edgar Davids. There's a bunch of players that come to mind that you kind of think of, and I would have had Anelka on the list, but he played. Anelka is another one that I could have had on the list, but he moved around too much. He's more of an honourable mention as well because he made me. I enjoyed the way his style of football, regardless of what team he was on, and I was happy when he came to my club as well. But yeah, in terms of the five names outside of my team that when they didn't play for me, those were the five. And yeah, this has been the second episode of the five players that made me love football. Um, yeah, what else? Is there any other players? Ribery as well. He was golden. Many any other names that I can think of. Um, that kind of made me. In terms of defenders, Rio. I think Rio for me was the best defender. In goalkeepers outside of my club, I got to give it to Edwin van der Sar. And then DMs. You always got to love Vieira, the Roy Keane, their rivalry as well. So, but the five, Ronaldinho, R9 phenomenon Ronaldo, um, Yaya Toure, Samuel Eto'o, and Thierry Henry are the five that made me love football. And yeah, it's a lot of the old school stuff. Obviously, some of these new players I like. Yeah, you know what? That might be the next list. The next five next gen players that I like coming up in terms of the current day. But those are the five that got me into the game outside of my club. And yeah, man, this has been African King Academy King's Talk. Top 5, and I'm out. Peace.